Well, we can all agree that Oklahoma State is eventually going to catch up to Penn State. But right now, no, there's no chance. Right now,
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
my name is Seyko. I'm the host of Locked On Nittany Lions. He is Cody Stovall, the host of Locked On Oklahoma State. And this is a Locked On crossover to talk Penn State and Oklahoma State wrestling. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered in for a chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. On today's show, we are talking about the Penn State-Oklahoma State dynamic. As now Oklahoma State is trending in the right direction. I fully expect them to catch up to Penn State at some point, but is it sooner rather than later or later rather than sooner? Does anybody else join the mix? Ohio State? Certainly, it doesn't seem like Iowa. Iowa's got to figure out if they're going to be able to rebuild. So we'll talk about that later. Projecting the lineups, how these two teams will match up against one another. But the present, before we even get to the future, we got to talk about the now. Cody, I've seen some people, I don't know if it's just overly optimistic Oklahoma State fans that say, yes, they can be a threat to Penn State right now and next season. I got to disagree with that. Penn State is by and far going to win a national title this year. The lineup returns, in theory, 9 starters going into next season. So if they're better than Oklahoma State now, they're going to be better than Oklahoma State next season. I say 2029. I imagine you're going to say something sooner than that.
Yeah, I said 2028. You can print the headlines now. We can do a show. Oklahoma State national title comes back where it's supposed to be. Stillwater America 2028. Yeah, no, I've seen some of this, and some of it is just excitement. Seeing what Jax Forrest just did to Drake Ayala.
I know
he took him behind the woodshed and taught him a thing or 17. Nobody saw that coming. So yeah, that instantaneously does make Jax a competitive factor. And you and I both know it's all about bonus points when it comes to winning the Natty as a team. And now that is also why I don't think we will win it this year or really even get super, super close. It's because we have half of our lineup that can score bonus points with anybody, and then half our lineup struggles to score bonus points against anybody, right? So yep. I think that's the biggest thing. But I understand the optimism. We saw what Troy Spratley was able to do this previous season. Now you're seeing what Jax Forrest does. And D. Lockett, yes, he finally lost to Mikey Caliendo, but I think that is going to entice him to think a little bit differently. He even talked about it, post press conference, that he maybe put too much into that third period and didn't try to attack enough in the beginning. So I expect some of those things to change. But D. Lockett is good enough to make this thing interesting and get us some bonus points. Jax Forrest, good enough to definitely get us some bonus points. And I think that's the key. Cody Merrill recently has been getting bonus points. At the beginning of the season, he struggled a little bit there getting bonus points. And you can make the same argument to some degree out of Connor Doucette. They are now contributing in the bonus points category. But you do have guys like Zach Ryder and Alex Facundo, and even Casey Swiderski that don't exactly help a ton when it comes to bonus points. But then you got the new magic man himself, Sergio Vega. So do we have enough in bonus points to win this year? I do not think so. But do we have enough guys that can score bonus points to make it interesting? Yeah, I think so. I think it will at least make you work for it this season. Now, 2027, I think, could be different. I think 2027 we actually could catch you, and let me tell you why. I'm sorry for taking
even with 9 starters coming back.
It's because of look what the freshmen are doing. Jax Forrest comes into the high school.
Look what our guys are doing.
Yeah, I understand that, but I don't think that they get the same RTC training. I think that Oklahoma
Penn State
has caught Penn State. Yes, I do think that we have caught up to what you guys are doing in the developmental room. And again, I think you're seeing that. Hold on, TV timeout. Hold my beer here. When the last time I watched a Penn State wrestling match earlier on this season, I saw some uncharacteristic things. It feels like Penn State wrestlers can feel that Oklahoma State is coming. And I feel like 2027 could do that. Nobody anticipated Sergio Vega being this good, this quick. Nobody thought that Jax Forrest was going to come in as a high school kid and being able to absolutely eviscerate somebody like Drake Ayala. Nobody saw those things coming. Nobody foreseen that D. Lockett could potentially make a national title run as a true freshman, yet these are things that are coming to fruition. So the youth movement in Stillwater is why I'm excited. And if Jax Forrest is coming in ready to rock and roll, who's to say that Jordan Rainey and isn't going to be able to come in doing the exact same thing? We talked about Drayshawn Ross, you and I, several times. He can be an instant contributor to the heavyweight class. And then whenever you mix in that RTC with how successful our freshmen are right now, I understand the optimism, and I understand that 2027 could be legitimately very, very close. Do you still have the edge? Yes. But instead of winning by 50 points or 30 points, you might only win by 10. Yeah,
I guess I'm somewhat all alone because I was waiting for Oklahoma State to make a move on Jax Forrest redshirt, because when I saw him on the freestyle circuit, I said there's no way that this guy is not a potential four-timer. I'm not going to guarantee that he's a four-timer, but I'm like, when he gets started, he has the potential to be a four-timer. And then you go see, okay, now you have the proof with it against Drake Ayala, that awesome matchup against Aaron Seidel from Virginia Tech, and Virginia Tech might be one of those teams we talk about in segment 3, right? But Sergio Vega, I saw him as an instant title contender. I don't know if I necessarily put him in the same category as Forrest, but the guys that I look at in this lineup that you named, you laid them out. The Rainey twins, eventually Drayshawn Ross, when he gets fully acclimated to the heavyweight class, right? I've seen that with Cole Mirasola, that it doesn't happen overnight. It is going to take probably a season, maybe 2, but Ross is a special talent, so probably quicker for him. But you have a lineup that Forrest can be is a title contender. That's a loaded weight class, though. Vega is a title contender. And honestly, if it wasn't for Jesse Mendez, we'd be talking potential four-timer, more likely. Rabidou would be, if it wasn't for a loaded 157 class. Okay, but that Brandon Cannon, Meyer Shapiro, PJ Duke, right, from Penn State. And D. Lockett, if he's going to share the same class as Mitchell Mesenbrink, he's not getting a title at any time this year or next year. It's 174, 184, 197 where I say, okay, that's where Oklahoma State is going to lag, because Penn State has Mitchell Mesenbrink. They're going to move on from Levi Haynes because he's out of eligibility. We're already starting to get into the lineup logistics and stuff, but so let me put a cap on it here, and then we are going to do more of these lineup projections, all right? So I'm teasing the next segment here. Penn State might set another scoring record this season. If they're going to set another scoring record this season, they very well should be expected to do it next season, because they're bringing back everybody except Levi Haynes, and then you throw in a 20-year-old world champion in Masanosuke Ono into the lineup at 33 or 41. Unless Oklahoma State is going to do something, because we don't know portal, we don't know what's going to happen in the transfer portal. I just don't see how Oklahoma State challenges Penn State until 2028 with the expectation that maybe they could overtake them in 2029.
I think that's crazy talk, but that's why we're here.
Explain it. But how they're not with. Oklahoma State could very well come in second in 2026 and 2027. I fully expect that. Yeah. 2028 is when the gap truly starts to close, because Forrest will be a junior. Vega will be a junior. Rabidou will be a junior. Lockett will be a junior. Those guys are now upperclassmen rather than the new kids, okay? And then you factor in the Rainey twins, Drayshawn Ross. They're only going to get better over time. But Penn State still has a bulk of its lineup. They lose one wrestler going into 2027, one starter going into 2027, and then 2 starters going into 2028. So they're going to have 8 or 9 returners over the next 2 years. It's that turning point in 28 and 29 where I say, okay, this is the chance for Oklahoma State to strike.
Well, I'm going to give you a name in those weight classes that you were talking about potentially being problematic for Oklahoma State that might be the best of the recruiting class next to Jax Forrest, and that is Mikey White, who just started wrestling within the last few years. He is a tried and true Division I athlete in multiple sports that I think is going to excel at Oklahoma State on a completely unprecedented level, because he's kind of coming out of nowhere to some degree. And I think it's going to be guys like that. You talked about the younger weight classes. We still have Troy Spratley for a little bit, but then you have Rockland Zinkin coming in. I think that Oklahoma State firmly is in position to make something crazy happen in 2027. And then again, I think by 2028, we haven't even factored the transfer portal, right? Would you agree with this at least, that right now the momentum from recruits is that David Taylor and Oklahoma State have something cooking and people kind of want to be a part of it? I'm not saying that Penn State has lost any of their recruiting capabilities, but I think that people right now in the transfer portal would be more predisposition to go to Oklahoma State than Penn State at the moment.
I don't think either, honestly, because the spots are basically locked up on both sides. There's no room in the starting lineup. Oklahoma State has its lineup filled out for the next 3-4 seasons, except for maybe one spot. So does Penn State. Penn State literally has no options out of the room. So let's talk these projections. What can the lineups look like over the next few seasons? What is that title winning lineup for Oklahoma State supposed to look like? And Penn State's that will continue to be as elite as it is. That is all coming up next year on this Locked On Crossover. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Have you ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? Well, FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here is how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered in for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right. We're talking flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about, hey, which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. Futures this time of year, they're great. Whether it's picking a team to win a conference title or the championship itself, it adds that extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. And now, not only can your pick cash, but it could also send you to the NBA Finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for a chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. This episode is brought to you by TurboTax. Tax season does not have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off, move on with your day. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert start to finish without the guesswork or the stress. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect with them online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employment forms and work to get you every deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it all. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150. That's right, $150 all in if a TurboTax expert did not file for you last year. Just file by February 28th. Take taxes off of your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. That is TurboTax.com/local. Did you know that you can get Locked On Nittany Lions and Locked On Oklahoma State ad-free? By becoming a member of the all-new Everydayer Club. Plus, you will get access to a members-only Discord server to talk Penn State and Oklahoma State. Check the link down in the show notes to learn more. Still to come on this crossover episode, who's going to be that third team? Because instead of it being Penn State and everybody else, Penn State, Oklahoma State, then everybody else. I don't know that Iowa's in the mix. We'll get to that later on. The lineups. I'm excited for Oklahoma State, right? I liked watching Jax Forrest in the offseason here when it came to freestyle. It was the same thing with PJ Duke and everything that those two were doing as the new kids on the block, right? I've already said that. But truly, to make the senior world teams the way that they did, it's like these guys are going to be around for quite some time. Well, Forrest is at Oklahoma State. And then, again, those guys that I all grouped together, they're the faces of your lineup. Forrest, Vega, Robidoux, Lockett, Rainey Twins, Ross. This is starting to build the same way that Penn State does. And it's not that Penn State's taking a step back, because you mentioned, hey, the 25 and 26 recruiting classes are elite for the Cowboys. They are. But that's because Penn State's recruiting classes, 24 and 25, were unprecedented. So I've already started to hint how it's going to be in every other couple of years for these two programs once David Taylor fully settles in. So we're talking next decade here in 2030, where Penn State's going to win 2 years because they'll have a bunch of juniors and seniors. And then Oklahoma State will win 2 years because they have a bunch of juniors and seniors. And it's going to go back and forth because it's the dynamic of wrestling. It's the way that recruiting has to go. You don't have 100 players like a football team and a true depth chart. You have 10 starters. You have 10
Right.
guys. So you can only recruit so much in this sport. And Cale Sanderson's even said that. Like, it's tough to recruit right now because our entire room is filled out.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I'm actually glad that you said that, right? I didn't want to pick back up, but one of the things you said coming out of segment one that I feel like I need to push back on a little bit is I liken some of this to the beginning of Cale Sanderson, because Oklahoma State, Iowa, we were the king dinglings of the country, and everybody in the world knew it until Cale got things rolling. I think recruits, and we didn't have the portal back then, but I think even recruits then were starting to feel that Oklahoma State may be like the placeholder, but what Cale Sanderson is building at Penn State is pretty cool. I want to go be a part of it. That's what I'm saying. I feel like we're kind of getting to that in the recruiting phase for David Taylor and Oklahoma State. It's the same thing Cale Sanderson went through. You took the mantle from us because you were the new thing. You were the excited, and people could feel it. They could see it. I think that is now David Taylor, and it's going to take Cale Sanderson tapping into some of that old school version of himself to reignite the transfer portal and the recruiting battles between Oklahoma State moving forward. Now, as it pertains to the lineups, we mentioned how Jax Forrest is going to be a competitor for a while. Sergio Vega is going to be a mainstay. We talk about this upcoming class with the Rainey Tins and Ross and Mikey White and even DJ Hamidy's brother Jake's coming on board. But let's not forget, when we're talking about the RTC stuff, right? We're talking about the developmental aspects. We still have guys like JJ McComas, right? We still have guys like Ronnie Ramirez that are yet to be fully developed. You know what you're seeing out of Landon Rabidou, but I just feel like that we've got enough youth that is going to eventually take over. We still haven't even got to see the fullness out of Ren Sakamoto yet, right? You talk about your bad Mama Jamma coming in from overseas.
Oh, no. The biggest limiting factor to Ren is this language barrier, which is why we have to have cards written in different languages to even have conversations. Well, I think once he understands the nuances of what the coaching staff is asking for, he can be a competitor to slide in fairly seamlessly for either 125, 133, and then you have Rockland coming in. I think Oklahoma State has enough that if you looked at the projected lineups, that it is going to be an Oklahoma State-Penn State battle for the foreseeable future. Oh, yeah.
And, it comes down to faith. I have faith that David Taylor and this RTC are the youth movement coming up, and I have faith that Penn State is the old guard trying to hang on.
Trying to hold on is interesting because, they took a step back in the 2026 recruiting class, but now they've loaded up in 2027 once again, where they have, I think, 3 or 4 of the top 10 pound-for-pound recruits in the nation for that 2027 class. So like I said, it's a back and forth where you will load up in 2 classes. You have to take a step back because there's just literally no room. Oklahoma State will do it too once they begin to continue to fill out the lineup. Penn State's now doing it where it's 24 and 25. You take a step back in 26 because the depth chart is limited. You have no choice. Now they're reloading again in 27. And that's going to be the turning point when you lose those veterans. So I want to know from your perspective, what does the title winning lineup for Oklahoma State look like? What is the one that knocks the giant down? Can you project it all 10 weight classes?
So we get Troy Spratley again back next year, right? So you get a 4-year version of Spratley next season. You have Jax Forrest, you have Sergio Vega, you have Landon Rabidou, you have D. Lockett, you have either one of the Rainies, you have Michael White, Cody Merrill will be back because he's young, and then you have Drayshawn Ross coming in as the heavyweight.
And how does Drayshawn see? That's the 197. Josh Barr is still there, right? Drayshawn Ross, I will give him the benefit of the doubt that he will be on the podium right away, but I wonder how he does in a heavyweight class because that is a veteran group. You have to be one of the older wrestlers in that weight class. You can't get by just as a first-time true freshman. I've seen it with Cole Mirasola. It's taken him step by step to really get there. But then you have Rocco Welsh versus Zach Ryder at 84, 74. Okay. The jury's still out who Penn State's going to have at 74 because with Levi Haynes moving on, does Mitchell Mesenbrink move up to 74? Yeah. I doubt it, but I'm saying it's a possibility. But then they have William Hankel ready to go if they're going to go with the youngster. At 65, Mitchell Mesenbrink could still be there. PJ Duke or Tyler Kasak, who's going to go there at 57. I would take Mesenbrink over Lockett still, and I would take either PJ Duke or Tyler Kasak over Rabidou. Shayne Van Ness is a title favorite at 49 again. Vega could make things interesting if he moves up to 149, or is Casey Swiderski still there?
Yeah, no, Casey Swiderski still has time left. But again, like I think we're kind of glossing over the fact that you mentioned earlier that people like Sergio Vega, to some, were a national title contender, but it wasn't going to be easy for them, guys like that, to get on this roster coming into the season, because we still had guys like Tegan Jamison that and Cale Hughes that have proven to be very valuable commodities.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, is like I think that our freshman development so fast, maybe there's somebody out there, maybe you could have foreseen them developing this quickly. I did not, right? I didn't see these true freshmen coming in and been able to take down guys like Cale Hughes and Tegan Jamison and step up and perform as well as they have. So that gives you hope that whomever slides into some of these spots next season will allow us to chop down the giant. Because again, we get Alex Facundo back. Is that good? I don't know. But having somebody to push him is only going to benefit Oklahoma State, because that's probably the problem right now, is we don't have anybody that can push him. We don't have anybody that can push him to be a point scorer. And next season, that'll change. You'll have people that can push him. So he's either got to get better at getting bonus points, or he's got to move over for these young freshmen.
Yep.
And I think the same can be said about Zach Ryder.
I mean, that's how Penn State was operating, right? No spot was safe, and technically no spot is still safe. You're not guaranteed a starting spot just because, and that's why they're operating at the standard that they do. But when it comes to the near future, this season, next season, and even 2028, that's what I mean. Luke Lillidahl. I don't know who there's not really anybody that I'm taking over Luke Lillidahl, especially as time goes on. There's Jax Forrest and Marcus Blaze are in the same tier of class. They are both elite. And I think if you wrestle that match 10 times over, it's 5-5. So it could be someone's, if they happen to meet in a final or a semifinal, it's a coin flip. It's going to go either way. Right. Vega at 41 for the time being seems to be the better option than what Penn State's going to throw out. Okay, well, Masanasuke Ono, right? But he's not a long-term solution. He's a 1, maybe 2 season wrestler for Penn State at 49. Shayne Van Ness is an anchor there. So I don't know who I'm taking over Van Ness. PJ Duke, it's a loaded 57 class. I like him better than Rabidou, but with Meyer Shapiro and Brandon Cannon and Antrell Taylor for the next couple of seasons. Mitchell Mesenbrink, who are you picking over Mesenbrink? Nobody. 74 is kind of one that's up in the air for Penn State in the near future as far as how good will they be? Will they be title contenders or All-America candidates? Rocco Welsh, title contender. Josh Barr is a title favorite. Cole Marisola starting to get closer to being a title contender. So that lineup is going to be mostly intact for the next 3 seasons.
All I have to say is, when it comes to heavyweight, maybe I'm about to say something stupid, and this will be clippable in the future, but I think Drayshawn Ross will run circles around Josh Barr and every other heavyweight in the country. Athletic.
Well, Barr's 97, so you're thinking Cole Marisola.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I think he could drop down to 97 and run circles around 90% of the country. That dude could come to Oklahoma State and start at linebacker. He's focusing on wrestling, which is just insane. I mean, I'm happy about it. But at the same point in time, man, it makes me irritated to know that he could play football easily in the Big 12, and we're not going to get to see that. Kills me, Zach.
You want him focusing on? I've seen how it's gone with Ben Keeter. Do not do the double sport. I mean, shout out to David Taylor, because clearly other schools were trying to get him to come do the dual sport thing. I even think Nebraska and Iowa State were both trying to get him to come do both. It was David Taylor that was like, no. You're going to focus on wrestling, and you're going to become a consummate professional as a freshman. And I think that's why we won the services of Drayshawn Ross, because David Taylor was the only one that had the audacity to say, no, dude, we're going to make you a professional that can compete for natties the day you walk in this building. an Iowa mistake on display because he's from the state of Iowa. Iowa's made plenty of mistakes here because this was supposed to be a Penn State-Oklahoma State Iowa rivalry, but it's not. It's just Penn State and Oklahoma State. So, and I don't even know that Iowa's going to be in the mix to be that third team. Who will it be? Ohio State has a case. Nebraska has a case. Maybe even Virginia Tech. We're going to discuss that next here on this Locked On Crossover.
I'm Kalia Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. South Carolina rolled past Ole Miss 85-48 to clinch a share of the SEC regular season title and lock down the number 1 seed in the conference tournament. The Gamecocks extended their win streak over Ole Miss to 21 straight. UCLA dominated Wisconsin 80-60 to secure its first outright Big Ten regular season championship in program history. The Bruins improved to 27-1 overall and remain unbeaten in conference play. And number 12 TCU stormed back from a 13-point fourth quarter deficit to beat Iowa State 80-73. The Horned Frogs now sit alone atop the Big 12 standings and are 1 win away from clinching another regular season conference crown. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
And this episode is brought to you by Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines are stacking up, your inbox is overflowing, and the one position you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed, sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. Skills, experience, maybe even location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Do you need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. I am bullish on Virginia Tech and getting Bo Bassett, right? That's huge. That's somewhat uncharacteristic. They've also played a good amount of chess here with redshirting the likes of Caleb Henson. You recruit Aaron Seidel and you get him into the lineup immediately. And look at him. He goes toe-to-toe with Jax Forrest. So this 133-pound weight class, Forrest, Blaze, I mean, it's anybody on any given day. And that's for the next 4 years. That is for the next 4 seasons. So, but it's Virginia Tech that has those true standout wrestlers. Ohio State certainly has that too. Don't get me wrong. They're going to lose Jesse Mendez, but you still have Nick Feldman. You still have Brandon Cannon. You have Ben DeVino. I should have mentioned him in that group with Seidel and Forrest and Blaze. So Ohio State and Virginia Tech are the two teams that I think are around or are going to be, they are at least going to be the closest to trying to contend with Penn State and Oklahoma State. But even still, I don't see any of those programs truly taking away from this two-team dynamic that is emerging. I think the club is Penn State and Oklahoma State, and now everybody else. And Iowa's nowhere to be found.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell Iowa's stressing, right? I kind of poked fun earlier about Penn State feeling the pressure and having some uncharacteristic moments. I think that was against Nebraska, wasn't it? Where you had some wrestlers that were kind of, I don't know, jawing back and forth.
I talked about it. Yeah, they were. Nebraska certainly got under Penn State's skin. Let's just put it that way.
And then we beat Nebraska like a redheaded mule, buddy.
But it's the fact that when we talk about wrestling, and I know, okay, you could include Minnesota in this, but when we're talking about the current modern day of wrestling, the culture, the history, it is supposed to be Penn State, Oklahoma State, and Iowa.
Yeah.
And Iowa's nowhere to be found because they abandoned how to build a program. they're the ones that got suckered by the transfer portal, saying that we can go play free agency, we can outbid other programs because we're going to spend money aggressively that other programs do not have.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the ones that ended up getting, they end up being worse because of the transfer portal. They pushed out young and upcoming talent. They tried to get instant starters that, well, I think chemistry matters. I know this is an individual sport, but there's still team chemistry, that component. Penn State and Oklahoma State are doing it the right way. Ohio State, Virginia Tech. I'm not going to leave out Nebraska in this conversation, but I am not worried in the slightest about Iowa unless they make a coaching change.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to throw Iowa State into that potential next category. Their limiting factor obviously is Oklahoma State, right? We have Cody Merrill repping 197. His brother Kobe is going to end up at Iowa State because, as you mentioned earlier, there's just going to be a logjam at Oklahoma State when it comes to positions because all of our best guys right now are freshmen, and a lot of the freshmen that are about to come in are likely to be instantaneous starters. So, yeah, I understand that. But, yeah, I think we know that I was stressing because Coach Brands was walking around Galgaraba flipping the birds to everybody, and I've never seen him do that before. Yep. So that tells me not only was he irritated with the Galgaraba crowd, but there's pictures of him laying his head down on the mat, not even watching what was happening.
He knows.
Yes. Yeah, he knows it. He can feel it. And I think you're 100% right. You cannot miss out on Drayshawn Ross. You cannot push out some of the talent that you have. You can't have a little bit of dysfunction in your RTC program and then think that the solution is just throw a bunch of money at it. Yep. Because all that did was rub some of the people the wrong way. You lose out on the Bassett and the Melvin Miller sweepstakes. You lose out on Jax Forrest. You can't get the best wrestler in your backyard. Things are unraveling for Iowa, and it does seem evident. I mean, heck, they had to dismiss somebody from their team. You got Angelo Ferrari, who's dealing with injuries, and Gabe Arnold, who's bouncing around weights. It just seems like utter chaos in Hawkeye country right now, which is precisely why, as I tweeted yesterday, I love Iowa. I love the rivalry, right? We are the most historically relevant rivalry programs, but this needs to go to O-State, Penn State. You know what I mean? Like the biggest attendance in wrestling history is Oklahoma State, Iowa in Kinnick Stadium, like 43,000 people. You could get Oklahoma State, Penn State in Beaver Stadium, Boone Pickens Stadium, any stadium in America, and it would fly past 55,000 anywhere. Easily. And that is what people want to see. That's what recruits want to see. Yep. The Iowa-Oklahoma State thing is dying. The Ohio State, Penn State thing, it's cool. It's great, but it's not the same. This is what everybody wants to see. And Oklahoma State, Penn State would shatter attendance records. It would shatter viewership records, especially with the David Taylor, Cale Sanderson dynamic. There's just so many things that are equaling. These are the two Rams now. And I get it. You guys are going to out bonus point us this year, so we don't really get to go head to head in the national title. And I would assume that you guys aren't going to come to the Natty Dual Invitational next year either.
Probably not.
So, like, I think we should just push this Oklahoma State Iowa thing off to the side for a bit and start promoting Oklahoma State, Penn State in football stadiums, in arenas across the country, because that's what everyone wants to see, man.
Well, start to put pressure on Penn State too, because I want to see Penn State, Oklahoma State. I want Penn State to go to the national duels, but I also agree with Cale Sanderson because he has the right of refusal. He is not obligated to go to a fly-by-night tournament, and that's not me trying to disrespect the national duels, but it's here today and gone tomorrow, maybe, right? And everybody cares about the Big Ten tournament, the conference tournaments, the NCAA tournaments. That's what you're remembered for. So that's his point. It's separate. Okay, well, separate conversation, but you have to put pressure on Penn State to get that Beaver Stadium duel or that Oklahoma State Stadium duel where, hey, I'll give you perspective. Penn State had 75,000 show up in the dead of winter for an outdoor hockey game where it was 10 degrees and I think the real field was 0.
I know.
75,000.
We played your club team in hockey like the day before that.
Don't mention that.
in Beaver Stadium.
I know. And they won, unfortunately. Oklahoma State won that one. But that's what I mean. So we're talking 60,000, maybe even 70,000. Who's to say when Beaver Stadium isn't renovated, 100,000 for Penn State versus Oklahoma State in an outdoor, now weather permitting, of course. So
Yeah.
the thing that I want to finish up with, because
especially if it's 2028.
Yes. Yeah. When both teams are kind of at their peak, right?
Yep.
The last thing that I want to jab at Iowa again, because I think we're also looking past that. It's not the fact that Penn State and Oklahoma State are transcending the sport. It's the fact that Iowa just has kind of all these self-inflicted issues. Guys aren't developing. So even the guys that come in, right? The idea is that, oh, okay, they were good at their other school, but they come to Iowa, they'll be even better, right? Other than Stephen Buchanan, I haven't seen that from any of these transfers, the whether they're one and done or they wrestled a couple of seasons. Dean Peterson's either the same or slightly took a step back.
Yeah.
The guys that they brought in from Arkansas, Little Rock, Jordan Williams, Nasir Bailey.
Yep.
I don't see them any better or in another. They haven't taken a definitive step forward. Outside of Stephen Buchanan, he won a national title, but it hasn't. That's what I mean. The transfer portal made them worse.
Like the Jordan Williams that we watched the other day is the same Jordan Williams we watched when he left Oklahoma State.
I'd argue they were better at Arkansas Little Rock.
Oh, yeah. Under a Cowboy coach, I might add.
So that's what I mean is that Iowa, they got to move on from brands. If they want to be able to keep up with Oklahoma, if they don't want to get passed by Ohio State, Nebraska, Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
If you don't want to get Iowa State, your own state rival, if you don't want to be passed by all of those schools, it's not even about Penn State or Oklahoma State from Iowa's perspective anymore. It's about not getting passed up by the next 3, 4, or 5 schools that are waiting to jump into that next category.
No, you're right. Losing to Oklahoma State's respectable, at least. They lost to their little brother, Iowa State. How do you live that down?
Do you think they move on from the Brands brothers? I don't think they fire them. I think they part ways, right? They'll part ways and have it be
it'll be just
cordial.
like John Smith.
Do you think that happens this season?
It probably should.
It should.
If the people think that the heir apparent is already in the building,
Spencer
and
Lee?
you can already see other teams catching you, and you see Oklahoma State soaring past you randomly out of nowhere in a year. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to do something. You got to do something because if you can't recruit them and you can't develop them, your only option is to get them out of the portal. And right now, the portal is, I don't know, the portal is a little bit difficult for a place like Iowa because they've proven recently.
No one's developing. Nobody's developing right now. That's a problem. And if that's the issue, you have to start over. It's not just Penn State and Oklahoma State getting better. You have a development problem right now if you're Iowa. So
that's it.
That conversation is going to carry on. We have plenty of conversations because we're going to preview all of it. We're going to talk about the NCAA tournament. This isn't just a fly-by-night conversation. No, this is going to be an ongoing conversation where we get to talk Penn State and Oklahoma State. Cody, I'm glad that we get to have an excuse to talk to each other more like this.
I'm just glad that we are a legitimate wrestling brand again.
We're in the same club.
It feels good. I forgot what it felt like to be hated. It feels good to be hated again, man. It really does.
No hate over here. All respect. And I'm excited for it's going to be a long distance rivalry because there isn't going to be this back and forth until the NCAA tournament. But from afar, recruiting battles, the RTC stuff, the international tournaments, every U.S. representatives, all of those things are going to be Penn State, Oklahoma State battles. And that's why everybody else is so far away because we're competing in a completely different dynamic, a completely different sport across the board. So
yes, sir.
He is Cody Stovall of Locked On Oklahoma State. My name is Zach Seyko of Locked On Nittany Lions. Thank you so much for joining a crossover episode between our two shows. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments section. Be a part of the conversation. If you like this conversation, leave a like on the episode. Share it with friends and family. Subscribe to both of our YouTube channels and wherever you get your podcasts for the latest conversations around Penn State and Oklahoma State. Cody, it was always great to chat with you. Can't wait to do it again very soon.
I love it, buddy. Thank you.